Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for stopping by. We're back with another video on Rosewood Outdoors. Today we got a little bit more of a scientific topic to cover. So I went out the other day and I bought 8 different 22 long rifle rounds at the local gun store. I got Winchester, Super X, Aguila, however you say it, Super Extra, Standard Velocities, Federal, American Eagle, RWS Target Rifle, CCI, Small Game, Aguila, Super Extra Hollow Points, Federal Auto Match, Target Grade Performance, and then just a box of the Federal Range Pack, the 800 round 40 grain standard stuff. Everything on this lineup is all standard velocity. I know there's some higher velocity, lower velocity, subsonic rounds out there. That's not really what I wanted to get into today. Just kind of mess with the average run-of-the-mill stuff. And I know there's a lot more kinds of rounds out there too. CCIs, different Aguilas, Federals, all kinds of different rounds. But these are what I wanted to focus on, just stuff that I could go pick up. Pretty much any gun store is going to have them. So the point of today's test is to determine which of these 8 rounds produces the best group out of my rifle at 50 yards. Here's the gun that I use for the test. It's a Ruger 1022. The barrel, receiver, bolt, all the internal parts minus the trigger assembly, they're all manufactured by KIDD, K-I-D-D. You can find their store online. I highly recommend shopping on their website if you're looking for 1022 parts. They make very high quality stuff. The trigger assembly is a factory 1022 trigger, but they make 2 different versions of it. They make an improved trigger with a lighter trigger pull, and that's the version that I've got. The stock is just a Hogue precision stock. Up top I've got a Bushnell Nitro. I believe it's a 5x20. I know that's a little bit overkill for a 22 plinking gun, but this gun was pretty much built around the idea of being a bench rush shooter or shooting from the prone. And in my humble opinion, you can't have too much zoom or too much scope when you are shooting from the bench or from the prone. So it is what it is. Here's the target setup that I used. As you can see, I've got the 8 different ammos already labeled on there. These specific targets, the black circle is 1 inch and the white circle inside the black is a 1/2 inch. So at 100 yards, that'd be a 1 MOA black circle and a 1/2 MOA in the white. But where I'm at, it would be 2 MOA in the black. Naturally, none of the ammunition that I use for the test is what the rifle is zeroed for, so none of the shots that I fired actually landed in the bullseye, so nothing we got to worry about. Now, before we even take a look at the results, I'm going to go ahead and start making excuses. So the day that I went to the range, there was some gusting side-to-side winds. So in the final results, I took a measure of the true group and then a vertical measure of the group, because that'll give us a good idea on the accuracy as well. Because even if a specific round got caught up in a gust that I didn't notice, the vertical distance, the vertical spread should be about the same. So without further ado, let's get to the testing. Each round will get a 10-shot group. To get a decent average, there will be 5 rounds fired prior to the group to warm up the barrel and season it, as they say, or to break it into that specific round. In short, 15 rounds of each kind of ammunition, 10 on target. Alright, so first round is the Federal Range Pack. I'm just going to say right out of the gate, not really sure how this is possible. With the wind shooting through the scope cam, about a 3/4 inch group at 50 yards. Not saying it's unachievable, but for the Federal Range Pack, which was supposed to be, in my mind, the worst performing of the group, that was extremely impressive. And then our vertical spread was 689 thousandths, or 0.689 of an inch. Let's move on to the next one. Federal Auto Match. So I'm a little disappointed in this one, considering that it did not outperform the Range Pack. I know I've had better luck with this in the past, and again, I can make excuses all day shooting through the scope cam or the wind, but ultimately the vertical spread was only about 100 thousandths off what the Range Pack was, and it was still under an inch group. It did have one round hang up as well, and I cleaned the gun and the magazines just prior to this test, so I know it wasn't from that. Anywho, moving on to the next round. Aguila Super Extra Hollow Points. This is my normal go-to if I'm going to go hunting with my 22. They're pretty easily available and normally higher quality than a lot of other stuff you get off the shelf. You can see my picture taking skills are not quite adequate, so I added in the group sizes there. We got 1.327 inches on the overall spread and 0.78 on the vertical. Here's where you can start to see that big difference in the vertical versus the overall. It does seem like the wind was starting to affect it a little bit. CCI SGB. I normally don't shoot a lot of CCI stuff, but I think I might start getting into it. Seems like a lot of other people get behind it and like they make a good product. So we got a little bit better on the overall here, 0.993, but a little bit worse on the vertical, 0.89. Still a pretty decent group for 50 yards. Alright, so if you're paying attention here, you'll notice that this group is actually not the one that I just showed in the scope cam. After shooting the 10 round group, I realized that most of the rounds fell below the paper on the cardboard, and so I used this blank one that I was going to have up there to take another shot at it. This is the RWS target rifle, 1.339 inches on the overall and 0.808 on the vertical. I believe this round is a lot slower than the other ones that I've been testing, and so that kind of explains why there's a lot more drop in this group, about 1 to 2 inches lower than the average. Federal American Eagle. This was the worst performing out of the Federal group, with a 1.609 inch overall and a 0.806 vertical. The overall in this case, I think, is making it look a lot worse than it really is. If you look at the vertical spread, there's only about a 70 thousandths difference between it and the next Federal, which would be the Auto Match. Aguila Super Extras. These are the same round that I shot earlier, they're just not the hollow point version. They performed a little bit better than their hollow point counterpart, with a 0.874 inch overall spread and a .701 vertical spread. Last and also least, coming in with by far the worst overall and vertical group, is the Winchester Super X small game rounds with a 2.275 inch overall group and a 1.989 vertical spread. And that brings us to our conclusion. Here I plotted all of the results, smallest group to largest, in both the best overall and then the best vertical. So as you can see, if you look side by side, they're pretty much the same up to third place. Then you go from Federal Auto Match to the CCI SGBs on the overall, but the Aguila Super Extra Hollow Points on the vertical. So that's where you kind of start to question how much the wind had an effect on it. Definitely surprised by the Federal Range Pack. Did not see that result coming. Really, I thought I would see the Federal Auto Match and the Aguila Super Extras and Super Extra Hollow Points up at the top, and then the rest of them going down from there. All of these rounds were purchased at the same time, so there shouldn't be any aging difference in them. And that's pretty much all I got. So thanks for checking out the video, and I'll see you in the next one.